So, hello there, everyone. Welcome to our live stream on Outcast Media. To my right is Richard Donaldson, and to my left, we have a special guest, John Hannam, the Ordinary Guy Rant. Hello, good sir.
Thank you very much for inviting me on, guys. Glad to be here.
Not a problem. Our pleasure. Our pleasure. Rich.
Bruce?
Yes.
No, Bruce. Have you been on the sunbeds?
Don't. Right, listen to this. I knew he was going to do this, but the best bit is I can prove that I have not been on a sunbed. There you go.
You could have wore a t-shirt in the sunbeds.
I've got terrible lighting. I'm actually very brown, but I just look very pasty in this lighting.
No, I
Bruce is going to get deported if he carries on. Like, if Restore get in, Bruce is getting deported.
2 hours this afternoon watching my boy at Sports Day, and I look at the sun, I just go brown. My dad's the same.
Did you win the father's race, Bruce? That's what we want to know.
Mate, I didn't do it. Last year I did it. I pulled my hamstring. I'm not even joking. And I don't know if anyone knows, I've had 2 surgeries on my knee. So I've got like a nice little scar all the way down there from football. So I don't do any running anymore.
Hold on. A couple of months ago, I had surgery on my knee, right? You never mentioned once that you've had surgery. Bruce, for anyone who doesn't watch Bruce regularly or doesn't know Bruce personally, if you've been to Tenerife, Bruce has been to 11 Tenerife, right? That's just the type of guy he is, okay? Right? And never once have you mentioned to me that you've had knee surgery. Never once.
I've had 2 cruise ship surgeries, mate.
I don't know what those are.
So what, you had 1 knee operation? Yeah, I've had 2.
See what I mean, everyone? 11 Tenerife. Telling you now. John, what's been going on, mate? What's new? What's happening? You're reporting for, is it Urban Scoop now? Tommy's
Yeah, that just sort of came about by accident, to be honest. 6 months or so ago, I was just looking at their website, and they said, we're looking to expand. We are looking for some people to potentially join us. I just pinged them an email, pinged them a load of links to the stuff I'd been doing, and their main media guy contacted me. And it's just sort of grown organically. And I actually get on really well with them as a bunch of guys. And it didn't really go anywhere to start with. And then I did the UTK event for them. And then last week, with what was going on with Burnham, I met up with Wendell, who I'm sure you know, and we went up to Westminster and just did a whole load of filming for the whole day and had some brilliant interviews. Cornered Richard
Interviewed
Tice,
Andrew Marr, didn't you?
Richard Tice, Andrew Marr, Ed Davey. We stopped halfway along the street. We chased Wes Streeting down the road, which he didn't like very much, but it was good fun. So, yeah, it's been good. And then we did a long-form interview with Jeff Banks. I don't know if you saw that. He's a really, really interesting guy. Really, I mean, for 83 years of age, completely switched on. And for somebody who works in that industry, which you would consider to be quite a woke sort of industry, absolutely not. Very, very sort of patriotic, quite right of centre, but really old school, sensible, you know, like common sense, full of common sense. So that was really good. So, yeah, that's but I don't want to get too in bed with them because I still want to be independent, still want to do my own thing, still want to be able to voice my own opinions, which might sometimes clash with their opinions.
Yeah, that's good, mate. And it's kind of a thing that me and Rich talk about quite a lot. Is it's sometimes to help your own gain. It's nice to get involved with a group, and it's nice to associate with self with something. But if you want to ever remain, people always accuse me, oh, he's not independent because you're a Sports Reform UK and all this sort of nonsense. My political allegiance has got nothing to do with what I do as a political commentator. Yes, I'm going to have some favoritism towards them, obviously, but
well, I mean, you had lunch with Nigel Farage.
Shut up. But I think I'm quite. He actually did.
Oh, I was meaning to ask this. Did he actually?
Yeah.
So Nigel Farage is at lunch.
So I suppose you could turn around and say that.
Look
Nigel
how he's
Farage
trying to move on.
Yeah.
I'm not being funny, mate, but he wined you and dined you. And then you went very quiet, and you've not mentioned any more details after that.
Nothing like that at all. But no, I understand it, mate, and it's nice because you learn some stuff, and you do get put in front of people sometimes with that, and obviously, like you said, you got a good couple of interviews there. I like what you did with Andrew Marr. It was good. Yeah, it was really good.
He was actually really, because I've seen him on TV, I've seen him on the radio, heard him on the radio, didn't really know what to make of him. And actually, of all of the people, he had the most time for us. He was happy to stop, happy to have a chat. We had a couple of minute chat before the interview, 3 or 4 minutes afterwards, and he was actually really generous with his time, which, considering it was such a busy day for him, I would imagine it was very much appreciated, actually.
Yeah, good stuff, mate. Yeah, he did a good thing with him. So what's that? Bedford.misfits has just said, hi guys, do you think Burnham will call an election or pour fuel on the fire and burn England?
Ooh.
Good question, Rich.
I'm 50-50 is the truth. You just don't know what's going to happen. You just don't know. quite frankly.
We spoke about this before, and I don't think it's in their best interest to.
I think at the moment, if they were to call an election, I think they know that. I don't know. See, a part of me thinks that Reform would just about clinch it, but the other half of me, mate, I don't know. I don't know. When you go out into the streets, you did it yourself, mate. And I know Makerfield was just Makerfield. You start door knocking, and it's like, oh. You start to realise that the internet is not the real world. We're kind of in this echo chamber, and when you go out into the real world, there is the biggest spider ever. I'm in my attic. I've just converted this attic into, and there's the biggest spider ever just crawling towards me.
If you want to run away and
oh
cry.
my god! No, manager. So be a man. So yeah, I think I genuinely don't know what the general public's like voting intention is, quite frankly, and I don't think they do either. So,
but you see it. You see it every single time we have an election. Even this. I mean, realistically, this was the most important by-election this country has had for the best part of 20 years. This was putting a man in who we knew was going to become the next prime minister. But I don't think half of them out there, 3/4 of them out there, are paying any attention. It's like you say, John.
I think there's two ways of looking at it as well, because from Burnham's perspective, it depends very much on whether he fully trusts himself and fully trusts the Labour Party. Because if he's got confidence in himself, confidence in what he plans to do, confidence in the measures he wants to bring forward, then you'd think he would go long, because it will give those measures time to sort of take place and take effect. I'm not so sure that those measures are going to do anything, or that are going to be any good whatsoever for the country or for him. And I think people may well see through him pretty quickly. So I suspect he might be tempted to go relatively quickly. I think if he gets into situ, can have a few positive press conferences, get a little bit of a Burnham bounce, I think you might see one relatively quickly. But who knows? We don't know, do we?
Well, I think he's already being held to task around the grooming scandal in Manchester that he presided over. I think he's already being held to task for the fact that he doesn't really have a mandate. So which then suggests to me is that it's just a continuation of the original agenda. And we all know what props that agenda up. It's SDG 1 through 17, otherwise known as Agenda 2030. That's been implemented by both of these political parties for the best part of the last 10 to 30, well, a little bit longer than that, but best part of 15 years. And yeah, I think it's just a continuation. I think he's just a white t-shirt, blazer, different version of Starmer, who's a little bit more personable, I suppose is the word, a bit more personable. I don't think he comes across quite as rigid and as wooden as what Starmer does. He's less a lawyer.
He's more of a human.
Got a bit more, as far as
you know what I mean?
concerned.
You're perceived as that,
Does anyone know what this Operation Hexagon is? Because I've seen this a few times.
I have
on social media, but I don't know. I'm going to look into it while you guys.
Yeah, so it was a grooming gang operation that was launched in conjunction with Burnham and the Greater Manchester Police. I think it was 2017 to 2019, something like that. But my understanding is that it was a 2-year operation, and literally no one was charged under it. So it was, a lot of people are saying it was just gaslighting. It was just, look what I'm doing, aren't I fantastic? And then absolutely nothing came of it. That's my understanding of it. I've not delved deeply into it, but that's, I believe, what it was. I think it was instituted by Burnham when he was mayor to say, look, I'm launching this Operation Hexagon. We're going to go and investigate. We're going to go and find a load of people. They did a 2-year investigation, and absolutely nobody got nicked or charged.
But exactly what you said there, John, has been the whole issue regarding the entire thing, hasn't it? It's not been it's never been the case that the evidence wasn't there. It's never been the case that this wasn't known about. Various people for the last two decades have been bringing this up and have highlighted this. The problem is the institutions have got away with it. The police were never held to account. Social services were never held to account. No one's heads rolled over it. Every time the government have had an opportunity to do something about it, they've delayed, and now we finally get some kind of proper judicial review into it and but that's going to take 3 years. They're putting another 165 million into this. It's ridiculous, and most of this is already there. And I just think it's going to be another one of those things where in 3 years we're going to get another general election, obviously in 2029, and I think this will just gradually get brushed under the carpet again unless people keep doing the push, which is where I do kind of give Restore credit in what they did with their independent inquiry. However, I have my opinions on that, but they did re-highlight it and have kept it back at the forefront. but ultimately it had no, it had no
It's got no legs,
jurisdiction, so to speak. They couldn't realistically do anything with it. So I get that, and I think that's now their job has to be to keep that at the forefront to make sure that the people are finally held to account. But I think it just goes, it's too big. I think there's lots of money involved in this. I think they will prefer to push people out and away. I mean, look at Mandelson. Mandelson's a very good example of this kind of thing, because although they found out all this stuff about him, how quickly did he disappear out of the news?
Yeah.
Gone. It's completely gone.
It was headline news a month ago, and nobody's mentioned it for the last 2 weeks.
It was front page everywhere. It was like the scandal of the week, and it's effectively what triggered Starmer having to call his resignation. Obviously, Makerfield Makerfield with Burnham getting in was kind of the cherry on the cake, or the last nail in the coffin for him. Then you've obviously got the defence stuff and various other scandals that have gone on inside the Labour Party. But ultimately, that resignation was sparked because of the Mandelson issue.
Yeah.
And look how quickly that shifted out of the media onto Starmer, and now it's like they get this reset again, which is why I was so fixed on we needed to make sure Burnham didn't win that by-election, because it would have really screwed Labour up. I think if he'd not won that, we'd definitely get a general election 2027. Because I think Labour, I think what it's done now is re-galvanised them a little bit, rejuvenated them a little bit, swung them a bit further to the left. Yeah, we'll see how it plays out. But
Do you boys feel like
this is for the muggles? I call them the muggles, the people that don't pay attention. Yeah.
Do you feel like everything that's happening now is because a lot of people talk about political incompetence? I feel like what's happening now, and so many people say it, they go, "Oh my God, it's because they don't know what they're doing," and it's like, no, they know exactly what they're doing. I feel like we're almost kind of being pushed towards reacting. So everything that we see at the moment, right, on social media, on the news, even out in the real world, is kind of, they're rubbing our noses in it, quite frankly. Like the things that are happening with regards to immigration, the net zero policies, like everything you look at, digital ID and the way that's being implemented, it's almost like they're trying to provoke something. And we have seen in recent days, in recent weeks, we've seen that people are getting to the point now where they're having enough, and people are starting to retaliate. We're seeing things on the news right now, day in, day out. Some of the most horrific stuff is happening, and it's all kind of brushed under the rug, except for when someone on the so-called right, and they're on the so-called right because what they're doing is talking about it. And the moment someone talks about it, they then become the problem. They then become the enemy. And it feels very much like there is no way out of this politically, in terms of activism. And whilst we have to be very careful what we say, I kind of feel like the only real way out of this is through non-peaceful means. And that's not what I want. That's not what I support. That's not what I believe should happen. But I think that's the way it's kind of going. I don't know if anyone else feels the same way.
Sort of catch-22, isn't it? Because you're right. It feels like they're shepherding us down that road deliberately. So you don't want to go down that road because you don't want to comply with what they want you to do. But you also, there's a big part of your brain that sort of feels, well, we haven't got any choice because every other avenue is being shut off. Every legitimate means, every political means, all the peaceful protests. Really, if you look at the amount of protests that have gone on, let's say in the last 6 years, really, since you go right back to the start of COVID, how many? I went on 3 or 4 of the anti-COVID and anti-lockdown marches. And then you had all the BLM stuff. You've had all of the sort of rape gang protests outside hotels, whether that's Epping and now the camps in places like Crowborough and Wethersfield. You've had loads and loads of protests on the street. Barnum, just up the road from you, mate. Yeah, absolutely. Yeah. And God knows how many protests there have been in the last 6-7 years, but it's got to be 100 or more, maybe many more than that. And actually, in reality, are we any further forward than we were? Probably not. I think the only thing you could say that's positive is I do think more people have woken up. I do think we live very much in our own little bubble, but I do generally think people that I know, people that would never have had an interest Maybe they watch because it's me and they know me, but a lot of people are now going, yeah, this is not great. I've had enough of this and things are not heading in the right direction. So I think people are awake, but I still think it's only 20% of the population. I think the other 80% are so busy trying to pay their bills, trying to earn a living, trying to get their kids through school, just trying to do what they need to do to survive, that they just haven't got time for it.
Yeah. And I think, I mean, I got quite a lot of stick. I resigned from Restore last week. And I laid my reasons out. I didn't slate Restore. You know, I still very much I like a lot of the people who are involved with Restore. But for me, and it was something that I'd said privately and publicly several times, which was that exactly what you've just said there, John. 80% of the population, they're not as awake or they're not as in tune as perhaps we are, because we do this like either for a living, Bruce, or you know, semi for a living, me. John, I don't know where you're at, whether you're still working, you know, but we do this every single day. We're constantly scanning the news. We're constantly looking at articles. This is it's our bread and butter. For so many people, it's waking up in the morning, it's going to work, you know, it's paying the bills, it's getting home, it's trying to have a bit of time with your kids, you know, your missus, if you absolutely have to, if it's necessary. And then you're back to bed again because you're back up for work the next morning. And that's Monday to Friday. And then Saturday, Sunday, people want to chill out. They don't want to delve into the things that we're looking at every single day. And when I was at Restore, I said, look, we need to be tapping into that 80% rather than just trying to reconvince the already existing 20%. We need to be tapping into people who aren't going to put so much stock into grooming gangs and immigration, like very big issues. But for a lot of people, they either don't care or they simply don't want to look into it because it is horrific. Yeah. So I think you're absolutely right. I think I think I can't see a way out of what's happening. And I'm so sorry to say it, but I can't see a way out of this sort of peacefully. Julian Dunster has written, Julian Dunster has written, we are being pushed to the point that we have no other option. And again, I don't know what you guys think. I don't know whether you agree with that. A lot of people assume, I will shut up in a minute, a lot of people assume that if a right-wing government gets in, if we get Reform or Restore or, you know, whoever, that we're automatically saved. And that, you know, oh, thank God we've got a right, now things will start to get better. Well, first of all, and this isn't me trying to be negative, we've got a good 5 or 10 years before things start to look like they're improving, because there's so much legislation, so many laws in place, there's so much framework. It's very complex. But then you also have to look at the fact that on the right, or the perceived right, those of us who are demonized, we're actually very peaceful most of the time. Even when we don't get our own way, most of the time we're relatively peaceful. When you look at the left, when they don't get their own way, whether it's a protest, whether it's, you know, whatever it is, you look at some of the ways they behave. If we got Reform into government in the next general election, I'm telling you now, the backlash from the left would be far worse than if Labour get back in.
That would be BLM on major steroids.
But that's just on the streets. That's not taking into account the institutional resistance to it. The unions would go absolutely apeshit. The civil service would down tools. A lot of the police commissioners that have been inducted and come through political courses would be very unhappy with the new instructions they were given. You'd get it on the streets. You'd get all the raving blue-haired loonies going apeshit, but you'd also get the institutional resistance to it.
I do think there are a lot of good people in those institutions that are terrified to speak up because of their fear of being dragged into the office. When I worked in the college for 8 years, there were a lot of guys there, plumbers, sparkies, chippies, general teachers, general lecturers, who would say to me before I left, mate, keep doing what you're doing. You speak for me. I can't say anything, but it's where you put that X. It's where they go and put that X in the box, which is why it's so important people like us keep doing what we're doing. And this is the one thing I see what Rich is saying and yourself about the drive towards this civil unrest. It's not civil war, is it? It's civil unrest, and like major civil unrest, that people feel like that's the only option. But the reality is, we've not had any other option. They haven't allowed another option yet, because we've had the Tories and Labour for 100 years, bouncing sides. That's the only two with the Liberal Democrats in 2010 and coalition. But that's all that's run the country. And I think what we're realistically seeing in the last 2 years is reform have come along on quite strong. We've also seen now an establishment backlash against the Greens. They are exposing the Greens for all their infighting and ideology. And that changed very quickly after Gorton and Denton. I particularly noticed how no one was, they kind of left the Greens there, were like part of the, sort of like they were accepted as part of the established parties, Liberals, Tories, Labour, that whole parliamentary infrastructure. They'd kind of been there since the 80s and never really ruffled any feathers. Now, because of the ideology in there, now because their party's not environmentalism anymore, it's definitely ideological towards the Middle East. Now I think the people are starting to realize that young people are, and I actually think the social media ban, if I'm being completely honest, is to try and prevent the Greens picking up more support. I think they're now clapping back against both the Greens and Reform because they're trying to keep their little gravy train going. Because all they've known is the Tories get slammed in an election in 1997, Labour take over for 13 years. Then Labour gets slammed in an election, the Tories take over for 14 years. Then the Tories get slammed in an election and Labour take over for 5 years. This has been the pattern since 1923. And I think they're starting to get a bit rattled because anyone who knows anything about this stuff, and I know you guys do, every institution, every regulator, the civil service, every NGO, every framework, policy has been part of that establishment agenda for 100 years. Someone mentioned in the comments earlier the Fabian Society. Now, the Fabians aren't responsible for Agenda 2030. That's the United Nations. Agenda 2030 is plain as day for anybody to see. They've been instituting that since as early as 2010 via Sustainable Development Goals 1 through 17. Anyone can go and read these. They're all written like some nice daisy chain puff piece. You know, this is how great everything's going to be. We want to end poverty and end all this stuff. It sounds lovely to the normal person that we're talking about who sits and reads that in a newspaper headline. Oh, they want to end poverty and make all the water clean. And whereas we've seen a deterioration of water over the past 10 years through privatization, companies getting away with murder, shareholders taking money away. And the reality is there are a lot of people in this country walking around in cloud cuckoo land. And this lot are very, very good at retaining their power. They're very, very good at manipulating society to make sure they stay in. And my personal opinion is, I'll wrap this up, is I think they want civil unrest because they fast track digital ID. They fast track the agenda. They fast track their ULEZ schemes, CCTV everywhere, central bank digital currency. They fast track all this stuff for better control over us. So for me, it's the responsibility of the general public to not fall for that trap and start using democracy, because we did use democracy on May the 7th. We used democracy against them, removed a bunch of their councillors, and it can be done. And I just think the general public are not patient enough now to do it, despite the fact this is the only real time period in the last 3 to 4 years where we've seen what could be a full going forward change in government completely, with maybe Reform as the winning party and the Greens in opposition. That could easily happen in 2029. Then we move into a totally different era. Do we have the time to allow that to happen? That's the question.
Well,
are people going to be
deflation
patient
has
enough?
said the way to beat them is by laziness and disinterest. I don't own a TV. I don't buy their brands. Now, I personally completely disagree. I think disinterest and laziness to an extent, apathy, whatever you want to call it, they're you know, I think that's one of the main reasons, or they're some of the main reasons why we are in such a mess. It's because people go, well, I tell you what, I'll just tune out and I'll pretend it's not happening and I'll get on with my own life. And then that kind of fixes the problem. It doesn't. The problem's still there. And I'm going to move on to a bit of media I've got here. Hopefully the sound plays okay and it doesn't blow anyone's eardrums off. But before I do, there are over, there's almost 2,000 people watching across all of our social medias right now, which is brilliant. However, only 60 of you have liked this live stream. The more likes we get, the more we hit the algorithm, the more it pushes this story out, the more we're able to help spread the word. So please, 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 if you can, I want to see those likes jumping up as quick as possible. I'm going to play this. I want to see what you guys think. It's in the news currently. I don't know if it's in the mainstream, but it's certainly all over the internet. And it involves two-tier justice. And I think it kind of ties into what Dee's just said, which is about kind of laziness and disinterest. and I want to make. I'll play it first, and then let's discuss.
Go on.
Do not fucking punch me right. Put your hands behind your back.
So, okay. What we've just seen there is a white lad, essentially surrounded by black people. There were 3 black lads that I saw in the video, and they kind of assaulted him. He then gets up, and as he gets up, the police officer charges him, pushes him straight into the front of the shops. The what would you call it? The barrier, the railings. Let's just call it a wall. What would you call it, Bruce? Shutters. Thank you, Bruce. Yeah, thank you, John. And as he gets up, I've personally been in this situation before. Myself and a friend years ago, before I'd even joined the army, we kind of got jumped, had a bit of a scrap. We ran away. There were more of them than us. There was just us 2, and I think there was like 4 or 5 of them. We ran away, got round a corner, and some police jumped out of a van, unmarked, plain clothes, jumped out of a van and grabbed us from behind, and I ended up scrapping with a few of them before they'd even said we're police. So I got off with it, but essentially, but my point is, people have noticed in this video, he gets up and then he kind of swings for the female police officer, and then he immediately pauses. He stops and he's like, oh, because he doesn't realise who it is that he's trying to fight because he's just got up. But the thing is this, I'll go back to Dee's point first. I think it's laziness, it's apathy, it's, what was the other word? Disinterest. I think they know, the police, these institutions, and it's in their training manuals now, that basically what they need to do is soft police is it ethnic minority groups, and kind of police, in a normal fashion, white people, even now, towards kind of being more on the side of anyone who isn't white. And that's down from the College of Policing. You can go and look into that. It's all there. Nigel Farage
published in
highlighted it
2025, weren't it?
Yes. Now, I genuinely believe, obviously it's part of the whole globalist issue, it's part of everything that we're seeing at the moment, but I think because we're such a peaceful people, we kind of let things slide usually, we're very polite, we don't really tend to do outrage, we tend to tut as British people, oh God, and we kind of leave it there, whereas a lot of these groups, they don't, and we've seen the reactions to kind of police brutality towards ethnic groups, and, up until Henry Novak, police brutality towards white people, and the reactions just haven't been the same. I don't know what people think when they see. In fact, what do you guys think when you see that before I go on? Because I'll just end up whittling on for ages.
Go on, John.
It doesn't surprise me. I saw that video earlier. I shared it on X, I think, and I think that's what most people understand now. What's interesting is the change over 30, 40 years, because undoubtedly, if you go back to, let's say, the 80s or 90s, the police were completely 180 degrees the other way around, and they did police ethnic minorities differently to how they police white people, and they treated a lot of the ethnic minorities pretty badly to some extent. And clearly the political ideology at the top has massively changed over the last, I would say it's been about 15 years or so, but you're really seeing the outcome of that now in the last 5 or 6 years, probably, of BLM, and the George Floyd thing may well have been the spark that really ignited it, possibly. And I think now it's unarguable. It's completely unarguable. I mean, if you're on X like I am all bloody day and for far too long of an evening, that's one example. I could probably, if I could be bothered, spend 2 hours, I could probably find you 15 clips of a similar nature to that. The guy, did you see the protest after the Henry Novak death? You had the protest down in Southampton. And some people behave very badly at that. And some people were chucking bins and setting lights of bins and throwing things at the old bill, etc., etc. But there was the one guy sitting on the wall who got dragged off the wall, assaulted by, I think, about 6 policemen, smashed with their shields, kicked in the head, badly, brutally beaten. And then they nicked him. And they tried to bring charges against him. And then literally in the last 2 or 3 days, all of those charges have been dropped. Now, to my mind, if the charges against him have been dropped, then surely they should be flipped around. And surely those policemen should have at least an investigation against them. Is that going to happen?
I have got that clip here. I'll play it for anyone who hasn't seen it. I think it's this clip. It's been sat in my library for a little while, and I thought, oh, John's just mentioned it, so I'll play it.
I think the guy's name was Stuart Slater from memory. He's an ex-veteran, and he has been in trouble with the police before.
Yeah. Well, I'll play it, if this is the right one. Just bear with me, everyone.
We're back.
So it was not the right one, but
Nah,
it serves
that
the
was from
same
about a year ago,
purpose.
weren't it?
Yeah,
No,
it
yeah.
serves the same purpose because what I'm going to do now, that was a man who stood in the crowd, he was stood still, you know, he might have been shouting something, but to look, he was doing nothing wrong, physically, okay? He's not posing any real danger there, and you saw the way he was just treated. I now want to go back to the period of time just after the Southport stabbings. And you're going to watch a video now, for anyone who hasn't seen this, of the Muslims coming out in retaliation to the people who took to the streets. And what they did was they brought out machetes, baseball bats. I think one guy had a metal a bar with spikes through it, like really brutal stuff. And watch what the police do. Bearing in mind the guy we've just watched, in fact, both guys we've just watched who are white, the way they were treated, considering the fact that they were relatively, I mean, they looked harmless enough to me. They certainly weren't doing anything violent. And now look how the police react when Muslims turn up en masse on the streets, armed with offensive weapons.
If there's any reference or anything like that, what I would do is discard them in the mosque, leave them here. And you don't give anybody any reason or have any interaction with the police, negative interaction. That's my belief. So if there's any weapons, get rid of them. You're not going to arrest anybody.
So two things. I love the fact that it was Bruce that it blocked out there, and I love the fact that he even had the accent that we all know and love. Like, go and store your weapons in the mosque. Like what, for future use? Like what? How do we get to the point where...
I was commentating on that when that happened, and there's a bigger story to this. So effectively what happened was there's another. So I'll wind this into another incident. Hope Not Hate and Stand Up to Racism and Antifa. Essentially, now I don't know if this is true, 100% true, but supposedly Russians created Telegram groups basically mimicking the far right, basically saying that the far right were going to protest in towns and cities all over the United Kingdom. So that then got spread out across Telegram, and Hope Not Hate, Antifa, and Stand Up to Racism all mobilized their guys to go to places and prevent this happening. Now, the funny thing is that might be the police talking to them, but what actually happened was all of this Stand Up to Racism, Antifa, and Hope Not Hate lot started congregating in all these areas for this supposed mass far-right uprising that didn't exist. It never happened. No one was there. Yeah. And do you remember the incident? What actually happened in one of the situations was in Brighton, 2,000 Stand Up to Racism protests or activists turned up, and they ended up surrounding 6 builders who were doing a shop fit, 6 chippies who were doing a shop fit. Do you remember this, John?
Yes,
6
I do now,
builders
yeah.
were doing a shop fit, and they basically surrounded them, calling them far-right fascists because one of them had an England flag hanging in his van. So they were doing a shop fit. The whole 2,000 were trying to get to these people, basically thinking that they were part of this protest that didn't exist. And there was a lot of conversation about this. They were saying that the far right had bussed people in to Southport, which was completely untrue. That if you ever go back and look at the actual footage of Southport, a lot of the people that were protesting there was very similar to Southampton. It was very peaceful. People were being very respectful, but they were saying their bit. Then all of a sudden, a very small minority at the front started lobbing a few bricks and stuff. And that day is the day the words far right started getting used more in Parliament than it had done for the previous 20 years. Combined. Yeah. Far right, you know, this far right uprising that they keep talking about. You had Ed Davey stood in Parliament the other day basically saying that Reform UK canvassers had gone to someone's house, no name, no address, not where it was, and basically turned around to an Indian woman and said, we're going to deport you and take your passport. Like, they just make shit up. And you could tell in his face he was flat out lying. There was no truth in what he was saying. Yeah. This whole thing got manufactured off the back of Southport, in my opinion. Anyone else agree? Because the shift, when Labour got into power, I've been doing this a fair while now, and I've never seen a political shift like it. Going from condemning the Tories for their bad actions, the PPE scandal and everything off the back of COVID, to then seeing what Labour did from the minute they got in. It just plays into what we originally started this discussion about, which is trying to push people. Yeah, it's deliberate. And not deliberate. They're not manufacturing every single person that turns out, because obviously herd mentality. You get that 5 or 6 people that throw the brick, and then you're always going to get those lads who are like, yeah, someone's done it, I'm going to do it now. And that's what they want. That's what they want, isn't it? They want people to then cause the trouble. And there have been instances where stuff has been posted on X where they were showing some of the starters of the Southport riots, where you're seeing people maneuver through the crowd to the front, launch some stuff, and then kind of duck off around the side. It's there, but you'll never see that on the mainstream media. You'll never see.
Well, that goes back to, if you look at the January the 6th thing in the USA, doesn't it? That there's so many stories that actually a lot of the people that actually instigated the trouble, the vast majority of that crowd were peaceful, and that a lot of the people that instigated the trouble were plants, and they were establishment plants and Democrat plants and FBI plants to kick it off in order to be able to demonize and label Trump and Trump supporters and the MAGA movement and everything else. You're never going to prove that. But if that did happen there, why wouldn't it happen here?
But that's the thing, John, and you've hit on something there. The funny thing is when people like us talk about things like that, you will get a lot of the population will turn and say, don't be silly, that's conspiracy. That's ridiculous.
Theory.
Yet we have civilizational history of governments destabilizing countries 100%. For that very reason. So why would they not do it here? If you want to push an agenda, the best thing to do is let the people do it for you. Yeah. How hard... You can imagine what happened, right? Well, actually, we saw an example of this, yeah? Keir Starmer gets up on a podium October last year and basically turns around and says, we want to bring in digital ID for workers, yeah? That's what the exact words he used. All the vast majority of people heard was, we want to bring in digital ID. They didn't hear the last part. Petition goes up, all of us shared it, loads of people sign it, hoopla, protests everywhere. Then what do? They wind it back. I even was one of the ones that pointed out they didn't say that. They said workers, and then all of a sudden they backtracked on it because what they wanted to do was get the reaction, see what the reaction's going to be. How now that way is not going to work. We can't go down that fork in the road. Now we'll go a different way. Now we've seen what the backlash will be. How do we start doing this another way? How can we start manipulating another way? Everything about politics is manipulation. Always has been.
I've just realised that do you know how we all set up our streams to our own social media pages?
Yeah. Mm-hmm.
For some reason, this is set it up to my Facebook page as private. I was like, these numbers are really low, like 0 on Facebook, and it's set it up as private.
I'm going to check mine, so mine's
just
probably
like
exactly
Bedford
the same.
Said there. Yeah, all dressed in black with backpacks, all the same. We all see them in the crowds. Yep.
Yeah,
and the policing of these events, like we went to UTK, I know you were there, Bruce, I know you were there, Rich as well, and the message went out from minute one: do not wear face masks, do not wear face masks, do not wear face masks, don't give them an excuse, etc., etc. Yet as soon as you see an SUTR stand up to racism or an Antifa or whatever, 50% of the crowd are all wearing face masks. Yet if it was at our march, the police would be pulling you out of the crowd. No, you can't wear masks. And yet they all wander around freely, all dressed in black, all wearing face masks, all with exactly the same placards. So it's all clearly very well financed and very well funded. Where do they all go to collect that? How do they all know where to turn up to in the morning to all collect their placards?
Lockups all over the country, John. We know this.
But you know what I mean? It's very, very coordinated and treated 100% differently.
Manufactured and engineered. You've only got to go. Anyone who does a modicum of research, the pink and yellow board, we all love the pink and yellow board, don't we? That has had BLM written on it, stand up to racism, hope not hate, refugees welcome here. You think of a slogan and a protest, it has been on that yellow and white board at some time. Yeah. And don't even get me started on Rent a Crowd. It exists.
Wait,
you can
rent
a crowd.
I was at a protest a couple of months ago, and we literally we watched the police bring 3. I think there were like 3 or 4. You know, the vans, police vans, and a load of people got out, and we were like, "What's going on here?" They went around the back of the hotel, And then they appeared round the other side with their fucking placards like, refugees are welcome here. Refugees, just like glazed over in their eyes. They'd just been brought, like shipped in, dropped off and told, right, go and protest over there. And then bang on the dot for like, they'd been there for about an hour. Maybe it was 2 hours. But it was like bang on the dot they all went, right? And they just took off. And then they got guided back to the police vans by the police.
Shift over, we got to go home.
Shift over, time to knock off. Let's get down the pub, yeah.
We're only getting paid for 2 hours, we've got to leave now.
But but the thing is, it correlates because it happens every single time.
Yeah,
they
100%.
literally like when we all left. People were hanging around after UTK. I know me and Swano went and had a couple of beers after it. We were sat with a bunch of guys having a few beers, not too far from where it happened. But yeah, like that lot when they go, it's just like whoosh, gone.
Yeah,
they just vanish. They put their clothes into their bag, pretend to be a normal person again. Like it's insane. It's so manufactured. But again, going back to what we were saying, are we? I know we can't. I know that. John, you've been reading a book, haven't you?
Yes, I sent you a link to it last night. So I'll briefly give you an overview or a précis of it. It's called Civil War 2029. It's so that's only 3 years away. It starts in 2028, and it talks about it's very clever the way it's done. It's an oral history, so it's a series of interviews with people that were there, and it goes from 2028 right up to 2040, and it's people talking about normal people that live in villages, saying, "Oh, well, I went to work this day, and then this happened later on in the day, and when I got home," and it's a series of interviews. It's very clever the way it tells it, and the ending to it is not good. It's really, really, really not good. It's horrific.
Like dystopian.
Very dystopian. It basically ends in a few years' time in the division of the UK, and effectively the overthrow of the government and the installation effectively of a division of the UK between sort of traditional, I suppose you'd call them white right-wing patriotic people and like a Muslim caliphate, basically. And I don't believe that that's going to happen anytime soon. I think this is far too early, the way they've framed it. But what's really interesting is it talks a lot in the first quarter of the book about the politics and about how certain groups, certain demographics, certain community groups started to form alliances within Parliament. And those alliances started to gain power and started to push certain agendas and then gained power. And then gained power in many towns and centres, Birmingham, Manchester, whatever it might be. And so when the trouble started, they had control of large swathes of the country. I would recommend everyone read it. As I say, I don't believe it, but a lot of it.
But you said to me it's like a fictional. But you can tie it up. You can tie it in and see the similarities.
And I think it definitely over exaggerates the ending of where we get to so quickly. But I reckon 30 to 40% of it rings absolutely true. So it wouldn't take a lot for the horrific ending to come true. And I fucking hope it doesn't, excuse my language, because it's not a good ending.
What happens at the end? Can I ask? I know it's probably a spoiler. But...
Yeah, we lose. So basically, the traditional British people retreat to Wales, retreat to Cornwall, Devon. The rest of the country effectively gets taken over. And it talks about the international implications, because it talks about the USA starting to want to get involved because they don't want the people that take over to have access to our nuclear weapons. It talks about the people that want to take over here getting support from France, because France has already installed a fairly radical sort of Islamist type government. So it's very dystopian, but it's not a good ending.
But I don't think that's that unrealistic, mate. I really don't.
Well, that's what I'm saying. I think the timescales are wrong. Is this going to kick off in 2 years' time? No, I don't think it would. Could it happen in 15 years' time if we don't do anything about it now? Absolutely.
Yeah. And as much as I try and be optimistic in the democratic way, don't ever think for 1 second that I haven't got that in the back of my head.
I think the thing that does it, I think the thing that we where we lose out, and to some extent I've got to admire the people for doing it, is that we're not enough of a community.
No.
So some of these groups literally stick together through thick and thin over every single issue. They will vote together. They will live together. They will do everything together. And the British people used to be a bit like that, but actually we've become more individualist. We've lost our sense of community. We've lost our sense of belonging to some extent. We've lost our sense of supporting each other and grouping together. And I think if we're going to win, we have to get that back.
And I'll tell you what, that is a very, very good point. Well made there, mate. And I think it's really being highlighted recently with the right of politics in this. And I know me and Rich have got conversations we've had about this, how the right keep talking about uniting and don't, and how we also have a very, I would say, a middle ground voter base who don't actually think this stuff's happening. Yeah. I can bet you so let me tell you this story. Barnum happened, right? Last week. I have now been contacted by people I know in my area in Suffolk now saying, oh my God, you said this was going to come here at some point. We all thought you were a twat. I was like,
still think
because you don't care. Cheers, Rich. Because you don't care until it lands on your doorstep. Because you weren't prepared to listen to the people in Luton. You weren't prepared to listen to the people in Birmingham. You haven't been to Whitechapel. You don't want to see this. You're living in your little bubble in East Anglia and Suffolk and all these, the countryside areas. And that's where a lot of the population are. They're in the countrysides, in the farms. Farmers have got bigger worries than worrying about this kind of stuff. They don't see it. They don't see it in Chipping Norton. They're not seeing it in Suffolk. They're not seeing it in Norfolk. And until it gets dumped on their doorstep, that's when people then start to not rise up, but start to pay attention. And I sat and had a conversation. I don't like to accuse her. My sister's kind of one, she's very middle class. She's headmaster of her school. She's, I think, now trying to becoming a bit more aware that something isn't quite right with politics particularly, and that something isn't particularly right in what's going on. A lot of people around my area that is a very middle class conservative area are now starting to have their ears pricked up. The question is it too late? Because I said in 2024, that was the last general election we were going to have. That's the one that we needed to cripple the establishment. And it didn't happen because Reform weren't big enough, and they would have been a disaster. They'd have been booted out of Parliament within 9 months had they got in. They would never have been able to run this country. They simply weren't ready. And I think even now they will struggle in 2029. Exactly what we said earlier, John, the kickback from the civil service, the institutional staffing that's there. It's 100,000 people. It's not 600 MPs. It's not you got 327 MPs to form a majority, battling 100,000 strong civil service and the wider establishment. And that isn't going to get turned over overnight, but we have got to, in the next general election, no matter what people say, we have got to stop this now. Because if they get another 5 years, start figuring out where you want to go and live.
Yeah, and we get so many people online as well.
Out of interest, are you guys having those conversations? Because I've got 2 kids and they are reaching adulthood. One's 21, he's finishing uni in a year's time. Another one is just about to go to uni next year, who's 18. And I'm starting to have those conversations with them and say, look, guys, we are going to do everything in our power to turn this around, everything in our power to try and it sounds really sort of ridiculous to say it, but to save our country. But if this goes bent, I think in 5 to 10 years, you need an escape plan, because it won't be. But then again, where do you go? Because it's happening bloody everywhere.
It's everywhere, mate. Yeah, it's whole of Western. It's the Western society.
It is,
it's the whole of Western society. And this is what I think. This is where, when I was talking to my sister, I said to her, I was like, just do yourself a favor, right? Just go and look at the narrative coming out of Canada, out of all the West, out of Europe, out of Australia, out of Ireland. Go and look at what's going on. It can't be a coincidence everywhere. That's too much of a coincidence. Like it's not. It's being done. Like it's for it. And do you know what the worst thing is the amount of time I've been doing this, and you guys as well. Why is the question we all keep asking, isn't it? And I can't provide an answer. Why? Why do these people want this? Why do they not stop this immigration? Why do they not stop these illegals? Why are they so hell-bent on taxing the crap out of people in this country, destroying businesses, running pubs down, destroying farming? What is the ultimate goal? Is it, and there was a point where you can cross over that conspiracy line and be like, yeah, the whole like great replacement theory and stuff is a little bit too much. But because you have to have,
I don't think it is.
Like, I know, Rich, I know,
is.
yeah, but you do then, the more and more you look, start creeping towards that, and like, this ain't right, this ain't right. And if people don't start waking up to it, we're all awake. Everyone who's in the comments is awake. Everyone kind of realizes from their own, whether it's, you know, not everyone has to know everything about Agenda 2030 or everything about net zero, or immigration, or the rape gang inquiries or anything like that. You don't have to know about everything, but each person, and I'll tell you what I'm going to say. People like us have been doing this. I've been doing this for 4 or 5 years now. You boys have been doing this for a while as well. Rich, a couple of years. John, a year or two, couple of years.
Yeah. 18 months,
The
2
bottom
years.
line is this. Other people have got to start talking about this, because I said this in a video the other day and I will say it again today. I believe gone are the days where you get to hide behind your screen and sit there saying, ooh, I'm scared of being called a fascist and a racist.
Yeah.
We don't fucking care. We're sitting here now, faces out, names on the screen. We don't care. When are the rest of you going to start saying, do you know what? If that person in my family doesn't want to... Rich, you've done this, haven't you? You've had family completely alienate you for your beliefs. And I'll tell you what, one day they're going to turn around and apologise to him and be like...
100%.
Sorry, mate. And I think more people have got to start standing up. It's all very well letting people like us talk, and other people who might be in the comments who are putting videos out there and trying to... And this isn't about everybody picking up a microphone and picking up a camera, but it's about going home and actually showing people like, God, have you seen this today? Like, this is... Have you seen what the government are doing? They're giving all these houses away. Have you seen this legislation they brought through? Have you seen what this person has been saying? He's like shown the facts. And until more people start doing that... I've been at this for 5 years, and I do not see any difference today in societal mentality than what I did 5 years ago. I genuinely don't.
I get a lot of messages from people, I'm sure you guys do as well, where people will say, you know, first of all, like, oh, you're so brave for speaking out. I'm not brave, I'm scared. That's
And that's what it is, isn't it? Because I'm sure we've all had that internal monologue with ourselves where you have a hard day. And because the thing is, the truth of the matter is, so much of what we do is so bloody negative, and it gets you sometimes. You think, Jesus Christ. And I sometimes sit there and think, right, I'm going to try and find a couple of positive videos I can put out today. That's really difficult, really difficult. But there comes that point where you think, what am I doing this for? I'm putting my head above the parapet. I get dogs abuse online, as I'm sure you guys do. And actually, it doesn't bother me in the least bit. I find it quite funny, most of it. But we are putting ourselves in the firing line. There is a chance if we say the wrong thing, we'll get a little knock on the door.
Knock on the door. Yeah.
I'm self-employed. It could damage your business. But I'm doing it, as Rich just said, because I'm scared, because I have kids. Because I think if we don't, what is the alternative? I'm a competitive person. I've played sport all my life. I'm quite an aggressive person sometimes. And I refuse to bend the knee. I fucking refuse to give in. And I will fight to my dying breath. And I will do it for my kids. And that's why I do it. But it's fear that's driving that. It's not because, yes, I'm making a little bit of money out of it, but I could make more money much more easily doing the other stuff that I've been doing. It's fear that's driving it. It's the, if we don't turn this around bloody quickly, we are all in the shit.
Yeah. Yeah.
And, you know, I got a bit of stick a couple of weeks ago because I get a lot of messages from people saying, you know, I support what you do, but I can't share things. I don't like to comment or like, or, you know, I don't like to get involved because, you know, I'm too scared. What if I upset someone? What if I offend my neighbour's dogs, fucking puppies?
We're past that. Yeah.
Like, the thing is this, and I don't care anymore. And I said this, and I got a lot of pushback, and it was quite liberating when I got that pushback. I don't care if you're too scared to speak out because you might upset your neighbour's dog's puppies. I don't care. We are past that. If you are unable to do that, please do not message me telling me that you're unable to do that. Because quite frankly, we're past the point of playing nice. We're past the point of me messaging you back going, oh, that's okay, Sandra, you know, just keep plodding on. Please keep watching the videos. And I know people will have a go at me for that. I don't care. We have to get past the point of thinking that this is just something to whinge about and start realizing that this is fucking survival, and it's coming up on us fast. It really is. It really is.
It makes you wonder how much more needs to happen for people to realize that it's that serious. When you look at what's gone on, when you look at the fact that everyone, unless you're one of the fortunate ones, most people are skint and are struggling to pay the bills. That's been done to us. Most people are fed up with the amount of taxes that are being piled upon them. Most people are fed up with the ridiculous amount of regulations. You can't drive above 20 miles an hour anywhere. There's CCTV cameras everywhere. You've got to give your bloody fingerprints now to go through an airport. Digital ID is coming down upon us. There's grooming gangs that allegedly have raped 200,000 girls. There's two-tier policing. There's this.
Your business is taxed. Your savings are now being taxed.
Yeah,
your inheritance.
Your money in ISAs. Yeah. So how much more is it going to take? What does it take for people to go, you know what, actually, these guys are right. Maybe we do need to do something about it. It makes you wonder. I know we've got the British stiff upper lip. Maybe we need to crack that bloody lip a little bit and be a bit more reactionary.
Well, no, we need to be realistic in the opposite way around.
Yes.
We need to be realistic.
Yeah, Rich.
Okay.
Yeah.
Sharon Sinclair has just sent a message. Hello, Sharon, on Facebook to say all the protests aren't doing anything what will work. Now I get this, and I'm not going to try and make this all about protests. If people don't see a result straight away, they go, "Well, that hasn't worked. What else are we going to do?" The protests have worked. They are working. Do you know how many more people have woken up to immigration, the rape gangs, digital ID, net zero? Do you know how many more people have gone, what are they protesting about? And then they go and have a look, and then they go, "Ooh, I didn't know that." And then they start sharing it with their friends, hopefully, their family, hopefully. It's not about turning up on the streets and then going, right, yeah, everything's changed, right, done and dusted, let's go home. It's about shifting that Overton window that we talk about. It's about spreading the information, and it's also about meeting up with people in your local communities who think and feel the same as you. Yeah. So they do work. You're not going to see an instant result from them straight away.
Things do shift. I'll tell you a very brief story. So when COVID came out, for whatever reason, whether I'm quite anti-authoritarian, so we didn't have any injections. My kids didn't get jabbed. I went on a lot of the protests. I was anti it from the start, and I started putting stuff on Facebook, and I got 8 separate month-long bans. They just kept kicking me off. Anyway, I had a LinkedIn account because I ran a recruitment business. I had 15,000 contacts, which, if you know, LinkedIn is quite a big amount of contacts.
That's
on LinkedIn.
Good, mate. That's
and
big.
I got most of my business through that. I'd been on there for 12 years or something. And somebody put a post on. It was at the time that the Americans decided that they were going to give the vaccine to 6-month-old babies. And I went on and put a post on saying that's an absolute disgrace, because for a start, 6-month-old babies have a 0% risk from COVID. There is zero risk that anything's going to happen to them. And I had a little bit of a rant about it. Anyway, LinkedIn closed my account down permanently, kicked me off. And that was my business account. I lost probably 20 grand a year, gone overnight for the next 3 years. Within a year to 18 months, the things that I had said then, which got me kicked off and banned, were being openly discussed on LinkedIn and on Facebook because the Overton window shifted, because things had shifted. And now you can talk about it very openly. So Rich is absolutely right. If you keep banging away at things, you can shift it, but it's very incremental. It's a bit by bit.
And also, don't underestimate anyone watching this. Don't underestimate the power of one person, right? And I'm not going to try and be like, look at what I've achieved. Okay, I'll use an example. When I was in the army, they looked at sending me to Colchester, which is military jail, because I refused to get the jab. I worked with Downing Street for a short while. I then got shipped out to the Middle East straight afterwards for 8 months. And they tried everything to get me to take the jab. They even put it out on what's called Part 1 orders to say everyone has to get the COVID jab. Yeah. You're serving the Queen, blah, blah, blah. And I said, no, I'm not doing it. And they tried, they got Army Legal involved. They tried to force me to get the COVID jab. They sent me to the med centre. I had to go for meetings with the doctors and all the rest of it. And I stuck to my guns and I said, I don't care. I'm not getting the jab. It's not happening. And still to this day, I've never had it. Yeah. What they tried to do was send me to military jail for insubordination. I fought it. And in the end, they came back and they went, that's an illegal order, because it's a medical procedure, and you just can't force people, no matter what the situation is. You cannot force people to have that. And if they don't have it, you get to send them to prison. That's just not how it works. And because I did that, loads of other people in my squadron at the time went, oh, well, I'm not getting it then. And so just that one little act of defiance, and I'm not trying to say you're welcome. Just that one little act of defiance was enough to get a large amount of fully grown men many of whom would have kicked my head and given half the chance, like much bigger and burlier than me, it gave them that kind of the courage to go, oh, well, I'm not getting it then. And so it's little things like that. It's the petition that I've just created to say I don't want terrorists. I know lots of people disagree with me. I don't want terrorists to be able to run for office in the UK. So do you know what? Get the petition put out. Over 200,000 people signed it. You never know how much just digging your heels in and going, no, this is what I think. I'm not having it. The amount of people you inspire. We're nothing special.
Yeah, you're exactly right in what you've said. It's not even about us three. It's not about people that do what we do. It's that one person turning around and saying, do you know what? I really don't give a shit what Margaret next door thinks. I'm putting my union flag out.
Yeah,
just
fuck
little
you, Margaret.
things. Well, you're not going to get arrested for it. Yeah, but I think as well, they made examples of people like Lucy Connolly. Now, if any of us are being realistic about what she wrote, was pretty bad. It was pretty bad at a very, very, let's say the fire was burning bright, wasn't it? They were out to make examples of people. She wrote something she shouldn't have done. They made an example of her. Richard Tice has just won a defamation case against Dale Vince for trying for basically, he took Richard Tice to court, basically saying that he'd accused him of being a Hamas supporter. And what it actually is people have to be more aware of what they can and can't say. This is the thing. Allegedly, Richard Donaldson has no penis. Now, he can't do me for defamation there because I've said allegedly. I don't actually know anything.
No, but I can show you something.
In my opinion, Richard Donaldson has a very small willy, and he can try and prove it if he wants to.
I mean, he says opinion like we didn't spend the night together that time. It's okay, but whatever.
That's the thing. People have to learn how, and he obviously doesn't, and it was just a joke, but it's how you use words, and people need to understand. If you go and write in a comment, and I still see people doing this today, they all need to be like some really horrible stuff. Like, stop posting shit under your name. You can say things without implicating yourself, allegedly, in my opinion. Because your opinion is protected under law. But too many people are scared to say what they want to say and as well, it's not just about what social media, look what all of us do. We talk about some very controversial things on a day-to-day basis. We share things, we share tech, and we're not all being banned. Surely people must look at what we're doing and say, well, but I've heard people turn around to me and say, how do you get away with it? I don't get away with anything. I'm careful about how I word it and what I say. But still can say what I need to say.
Yeah.
People need to just start.
Sorry, mate. It cut out then. I wasn't trying to do a Bruce and cut you off. Sorry, mate. Go ahead. Sorry. Go on.
No, I was just going to say, it just takes, to wrap up, I just think people need to be a bit more selfish. And that's what I think people need to be, a bit more selfish. I don't care what you say. I've heard this. I've seen it. You either pay attention or you don't. And if you don't want to like me for it, fine. I abandoned, not friends, because my family, I've got family members who radically disagree with what I say. And if I don't want to talk to me anymore, I don't fucking care. I don't care. Because I've still got people around me that still, and I would rather, Rich, we've met, John, we've met. I'll start talking to the people that'll make new friends. Make new friends and talk to those people. Talk to the people that are awake. Because if they're not prepared to wake up and see some of the, even if it's just, like I said, it doesn't have to be, you have to go fully down the rabbit hole of the rape gang inquiry or fully down the rabbit hole of illegal migration. You don't have to learn every piece of legislation that government puts out, even though most of us try and break down politics and try and explain it to people. Just do it from a point of view of, why are they fucking taxing ISAs? Surely.
The thing is as well, the three of us have got different approaches. So Bruce, you're very research driven, very analytical. Rich, you're very much into you probably activism. Do the most in terms of your activism, in terms of your charity work, etc., etc. I'm much more, as the title suggests, ordinary guy. Mine's much more about emotional reaction and voice of man from the street, although I do try and do some research as well. So we've got three completely different approaches to how we go about this. But we're all probably heading, roughly speaking, in the same direction. It's just about getting as many people on board in whatever fashion they can as possible and waking up as many people. And I think we are doing it. I think it's just a slow process. I think the country, people don't comprehend how big 70 million people is. 70 million people is a huge number of people. And we all think we've got good social media followers. Bruce, you're probably nearly 1 million. I don't know what you've got, Rich. I've got about 400,000, something like that. But actually, in the grand scheme of things, that's not that many.
It's
We
nothing,
get
mate.
loads of views, but it's not that many.
0.7%.
Exactly.
I
So
don't
And a
even
following
touch
means
1%.
nothing as well. It's
No,
something
it
I
doesn't.
got onto like 6 months ago. A following means nothing. It's your
Yeah.
engagement more than anything. But even engagements, like, it can be fake.
But the problem is everybody that engages with us are all in the same cycle. And this is where I'll get people turn around to me, and I still get this today. I'll turn around and do a video in 2 months' time about net zero and sustainable development goals, and someone will turn and say, "For fuck's sake, Bruce, why do you keep banging on about this? We know." I'm like, I'm not talking to you. I'm talking to the 35 million people that don't know.
yeah, I'm trying to grab half a
Still,
dozen of those each time.
relentlessly,
Yeah.
relentlessly. I literally operate on a 1 year cycle of I'm going to talk about this, expose how bad the government are, reset, do it all again. And every year, if I can get 5,000 more people to wake up, I've done my job.
Yeah.
I hope it's more than that, but but if all of us, if every single one of us can get 5,000 people a year, and we carried on doing this for 20 years, how much is that? 100,000 people?
Well, the thing
It's
is,
nothing.
it compounds. You said 5,000 people, hopefully more than that. Even if you get 10 people, that then becomes 100 because they speak to people, or some of them do. That becomes 1,000. It becomes 100,000, a million. Do you know what I mean? It goes on and on.
Can I just say, if I'm still doing this in 20 years, shoot me.
Oh, mate, yes, yes.
I'll be
I'm
way
hoping
too
to
old
be-
by then. Way too old.
I'm hoping to be in my Zimmer frame going, do you remember in 2026?
You ain't got 20 years in you, Bruce.
I'm far older.
The
than
thing
you, so
is,
I haven't.
if any of us want to be doing this in 20 years' time, we'd have to be doing it from abroad if we don't kind of turn this country around, because we're becoming a communist state. Well, we are in many ways so quickly. And what happens to dissidents, people like us? What happens when that state goes full
Made an
communism?
example
Like,
of, mate. Yeah.
you're made an example of. We're dragged out onto the town square and flogged. Is that the right?
But,
is
I don't,
flog- is flogging like-
but that's like a medieval way of looking at it. We've had that. I don't think they need to do that anymore. They don't need to drag you out into
doesn't
town
make you
square.
one
All they need to
person.
do is
No, I mean,
cut
it was
your- they just
metaphorical,
chop-
Bruce. Fucking hell.
Yeah,
do
but
you know
they
what I
just
mean?
chop.
But yeah.
They just cut your social media. Like it's cut your social media, silence your voice, and they'll just
Well,
do that
they-
forever.
they
Which
just-
is why I
they
think
just-
X is going to get hit.
No,
I
I
think X is
disagree.
going to get hit soon.
I think
Also,
it
they
would be
will-
that
they'll
brutal
just
because look
debank
at
you.
yeah,
They'll close
but
down your bank accounts. They'll close down. They'll stop you getting a job. They'll close down your access to be able to feed your kids, and then you're completely and utterly bumfucked, for want of a
well, have
better
you seen
word,
what's happening in
because what do you
China
do?
already? They're further along in terms of communism, aren't they? And they've got the social credit score where people have literally gone online and said something. The government have gone, yeah, we're not having that. They've gone home and their key, literally, these are the stories that are coming out, doesn't work in the lock anymore. And another family's fucking moving in a couple of days later, and it's like, yeah, you've lost your house, you've lost your income, your job's gone, like, and people are they're now on the streets because they've said things online. The thing, and I don't want to scare people, right? I'm going to go back to a point that I wanted to raise before, but then I forgot because I was reading the comments and I can't do two things at once. Oh, no, I've forgotten. Oh, yeah. Don't be too put off by speaking out. A lot of people say, well, if I speak out, I will go to jail. It's not the
No, you
case. I think it's been a very cleverly done psyop. And I think lots of people on the right, lots of people who speak online, the government, the media, these institutions, they've kind of tricked us into believing that if we speak out, we will go to jail. You can speak out. You can talk about facts. You can say, this is happening, and I believe this because, and then here's my source. Here's the evidence. That is fine. That's what we should all be doing. If you go online and you start saying, well, I think we need to do X, Y, and Z, and what you're actually talking about is violence, well, then guess what? You are inciting violence. And quite frankly, I hope you do get a knock on the door, because that's not the way to go about things. You can talk about stuff online. You absolutely can. We are all examples of that. Have I had knocks on the door? Yes. Have the police come into my house? Yes. But that's because they've said, well, you said this, this, this. What do you mean by it? Well, that was a fact, that was a fact, that was a fact, and here's the source. All right, okay, have a nice day, Mr. Donaldson. And they go away. You might get pressured from time to time, is my point, but you are not going to jail for speaking facts online. It's just not going to happen.
But even then, people get bullied, don't they? Most of the people that have gone to jail have pleaded guilty because they get railroaded. They get rushed into court in 3 or 4 days' time. They get told, right, if you plead guilty, we know you've done it. We've got you on CCTV. We've got you on camera. You're 100% guilty. If you plead guilty, you'll get 2 years. If you don't, you might get 5. And they go, they panic, and they plead guilty, and they're all banged up straight away.
This
Whereas
is
if they actually
not legal
fought it and
advice.
got a proper lawyer and actually pushed back, in reality, some of them would still get nicked, but actually quite a lot of those charges would fall away.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Like, this is not legal advice, but fight it. Like legally, you can plead guilty and get 2 years, or you can go not guilty. You might get 4 or 5. I'm going not guilty. Like no, fight it every step of the way. I believe that's how we win. Truly.
Yeah, I understand exactly what Sharon's just said there. Sorry if we go to that, guys. Put that one up,
right.
Rich. I'm actually so part about immigration. I just live on my own with my children, and I put England flags out and then had to take them all down as was worried someone would see and get nasty with one of them. So many immigrants here now in Portsmouth. If it was just myself, I would not be bothered. And I fundamentally, Sharon, that is, of course, you've got to protect your kids. Of course, doing something like that's very out there and a visual sign when you're in an area that might be bad, definitely don't provoke it. But it still doesn't stop you talking to your internal family, to your close friends, highlighting issues, sharing information. These are all things that people can be doing. And like Rich goes back to what Richard and John both said earlier, is they know people that have said they're scared to share things because they're worried about what people will think about them or their political opinion. I've never shied away from my political opinion on what side I'm on. I don't care what people think of me. I genuinely don't. I sat and listened to people in a barbecue of my family turn around and say in 2024 that they were going to vote for Labour. And I just sat there listening to them and I'm like, you lot haven't got a fucking clue. You are exactly what is the problem with this country. The minute I mention Reform UK, all of them who think they know better come down on me like a ton of bricks. And I went, you fucking wait. 2 years later, do you know what these people are saying to me? My God, I wish we'd listened to you, Bruce, because my business is now going down the fucking toilet because of the business rates. And it was all written there, but they weren't prepared to listen to it. They weren't prepared to accept someone else's opinion. And I just ignored them and let them get on with it. I was saying it, they just didn't want to listen. And some people won't listen and you will cop shit for it. But people have got to start talking. You cannot sit there as far as I'm concerned, you have no right to sit there anymore and say, I'm scared of being brandished far right and fascist and racist. That ship sailed.
I'll give you an interesting example, right? Because my sons are at an age where they're very aware of what I do. And actually, I'm deeply grateful for the fact that they seem to have very similar viewpoints as well and are ballsy enough to stand up for it. But because they have both been through school and been at uni, I wouldn't let either of them have a COVID jab. So they stood out of school because most of their mates had it and they wouldn't. They also didn't wear the masks in corridors, etc., etc. We had fights with the school to do it. So from a fairly early age, they were different. And then their mates found me online. I didn't push it. They didn't tell their mates. And initially it was, oh, you got a far right dad, you got a racist dad, you got a Nazi dad, blah, blah, mucking about. But actually the interesting thing is over the last 18 months, quite a lot of them now, I wouldn't say admire me because that sounds like I'm blowing smoke up my own arse, but are starting to agree with quite a lot of the viewpoints and are sort of saying, you know what, he's right. One of the kids last week went, I've just seen your dad on the news. I went, what? Because my interview when I chased Wedge Streeting ended up on BBC News. And he texted my son and went, I think I've just seen your dad on the news. But actually the conversations they have now, and he's in the 18-year-old age group, and it's starting to generate conversations. And maybe it's because he's in a traditional sporty group of kids that play football and go swimming and go boozing and try and pull girls in nightclubs. So they're old school sort of boys. They're not wokies, if you like. But a lot of them are very similar mindset now and are coming around to our way of thinking. So I know what you said earlier, Bruce, about the Greens and the Greens latching into this 16 to 24 age group. And I do think they have cornered a lot of the market there. But I think there's a bit of a groundswell of what I would call the white working class kids that actually don't buy into that and are starting to fight back and are probably leaning towards whether it's Reform or Restore or whoever it might be. I think because they're now all of an age where they can vote in this next election. And I think there would be a surprising number that actually might go the Reform route.
Yeah. And I think what as well is compounding that is a lot of them are starting to realise that they can't get a job.
Can't get a job. Not going to get on the housing ladder. Got no chance of getting council housing. No. If they try and apply to certain institutions, they can't because the DEI quota says they can only hire people of a certain type and they're not allowed to apply for the jobs. Yeah.
And that's the thing is and I think that's what we're talking about, isn't it? It's not necessarily people going out and pinning their sign to the wall and saying, deport all illegal immigrants, or we need to do something about the rate. But it's about inequality. It's about the fact that the British worker is being pushed down. It's about the fact our industry is being destroyed. It's the net zero agenda. It doesn't always have to be about the most controversial issues, because there's so much going on, which goes back to why one of the reasons Rich left Restore is they're very single-minded about immigration, and we have so many more bigger problems. There's a whole education system that needs completely transforming. We've got industry going down the pan. Most small businesses and medium business in this country are on their knees. We're not recruiting young people. The jobs sooner or later, which anyone would call autonomous jobs, are going to keep going and going and going to AI and robotics as that develops. And I just think people have got to wake up to this one way or another. And I don't think you have to be going out in your street and waving your Union Jack and saying deport all the illegals. Go out and say to someone, what's happening to education? Why is this government, stopping our kids? Why is there this diversity drive to stop our kids thriving? Like, it doesn't have to be the worst thing. Why is our money going down the toilet? Why is our cost of living still through the roof? Why does my council never fix anything? Why have I got another bin dropped on my driveway that I didn't even ask for at the tune of 100 million quid? Why are my water company bunging 1 billion litres of water down the toilet every single day, charging me more year on year, and their shareholders are taking £500 million in profit? This is all stuff that's happened in the last week.
Yep.
Well, Luke Royal says aim high, vote low. Sorry, Bruce. Maybe that's the answer. Kaz D did get very angry with us. She says nobody's made any response to anything I've said. I'm off. The only one I can find. All right, Kaz. Sorry. The only thing I can find that she said was, Richard, why can't we see all of the comments? If people are struggling to see other comments, it's because censorship. Yeah, if we're streaming to YouTube, Facebook, X right now, I think yes. So if you're on Facebook, you won't see comments on other people on other platforms because they censor it all, basically.
But they see that, don't they?
They should see it down on the right hand side of the screen, and they should see everything that I'm going through. I'm trying to post stuff I'm trying, Kaz. I'm trying to listen and do and also post comments and stuff. I'm trying to multitask. But that's why I just thought, because Kaz has always been on the live streams and she seems to have seen a bum a little bit, so I just thought I'd say. Moira, a lovely, is it Scottish? I think it's Scottish, isn't it? Yeah. You all talk more sense than the clowns in Parliament. They should learn a lot from you. To get in touch with the people, we pay them 7.7 million a week to talk rubbish, and the ringmaster Hoyle is as useless as a chocolate teaspoon. Don't hold back, Moira. Don't hold back.
She's not wrong. She's not wrong. And that's a very good example of waking people up. She's put a little bit of information in there about the money we pay them and what they actually do for us. That's a very good comment to share.
I didn't know it was 7.7 million a week. I had no idea. So thank you, Moira.
Yeah, work at £96,000 a month. Or £96,000 a week, isn't it? Yeah. 650 people. Pretty good. Yeah. And it's a very simplistic way of sharing some very simple information. Why are we paying them £7.7 million a week to do fuck all for us?
Yeah. Worse than fuck all. Fuck up the country.
Well, yeah. It's
worse than doing nothing.
Got worse. And I've still yet to find a person in this country that can name one thing Labour have done that's made them better off that isn't, we got breakfast clubs. Which, if you speak to my sister who runs a school, will tell you they're not worth shit, and they had to take money out of their existing budget to run it, and they actually can't afford to pay the staff to do the extra half an hour.
Didn't I saw a breakdown. I think it works out something like 37 pence a child. Yes. I mean, what can you get for 37 pence? You can't even buy. I think one egg costs you 37 pence, doesn't it?
Yeah. So they estimate the real cost is about £2.30. So the school would have to contribute the extra £2. It's bullshit.
Yeah. Headlines. It's the same with the childcare situation. So you know how they give people, because my wife worked in childcare for years, and they did this whole, our children are getting free childcare up to a certain age, etc. They get funding, the government's funding. Well, the government aren't, because, and I can't remember the exact figures, but let's say, for example, it costs, and it's roughly £75 a day to put your child in nursery now, okay? The government pay £50 per child. This is like a roundabout figure.
Yeah.
Who loses out on that money? It's the nursery, because they're having, and what happens is they then have to up the fees to cover the cost of the nursery for everyone who's not entitled to the free childcare. So it's nothing's free. It fucking winds me up when you get these governments come, oh, we're giving you free school meals. Oh, first of all, thank you for giving us back some of the money that actually we've given. You don't give us anything. That's what they need to realise first. Like, everything that the government has, everything that's in the pot is because of us, because we pay into it. They're not giving us
£1 trillion
jack
a
shit.
year.
Like, yeah. And then we're giving you free school meals. It's like, no, like, someone has to pay for that down the line. Nothing's free. Don't get me
And
wrong.
it's being taken
I
out of
agree.
another department, Rich. It's not. It's being, which is exactly what they're doing with the defence budget.
Yeah, they've
So do
nicked
you
it off
know
the
that
road
the
budget.
Yeah, so they've announced 15 billion in the defence budget. They've only accounted for 10.4 billion. Burnham's now got to find the other 4.6. So it's not even accounted for yet. And they
ISIS.
were at one point talking about that 10 billion coming out of the NHS and schools. Not DEI, not immigration, not foreign aid, NHS and schools. It's
And now they've just
fucking
closed down a load
scandalous.
of road schemes in the Midlands, haven't they? In Derby and places.
Well,
Yes,
They've
the A46.
just
Yes.
shut 'em
And this
down.
is the thing,
Yeah.
right? So this year, we are on course to spend £6 billion on the asylum support bill for this year. That's 150. This is for 1 year. That's 150,000 nurses. It's 100,000 fully qualified teachers. It's 150 brand new schools. It's 24,000 brand new fully kitted out ambulances that are all fucking scraping by their MOTs. Let me tell you, I've had some people contact me. It's 2,000 brand new state-of-the-art GP surgeries. It's 150 million GP appointments. It's 30,000 new social homes. It's fixing. We're not talking filling the potholes. We're talking full resurfacing of 3,728 miles of British roads. That's what that pays for. And yet we're still using that just to fund the hotels and the admin costs. That doesn't even include migrants
The
who have come
increase in
here who
benefits
don't
bill.
work.
Yeah, the increase in benefits bill.
Yeah, it's an insane amount of money, and they go, where could we get this money from? Should we stop letting everyone into the country and giving them everything, even though they have no right to be here? No, it can't be that. What about if we up taxes for everyday working families and make
Again.
completely unaffordable? Yeah. I suppose that would
this
work,
has been something that's been done for years. If you've ever done, so obviously I worked in education for 8 years, and if you've ever been in one of these institutions, you probably would have got these, Rich, as well. Like in being in the military from when you were in it. John, I don't know if you've ever worked like PAYE at any point in your life. If you've ever been in that kind of
Long time
institution,
ago, but
yeah, management, where literally you'll get these meetings of managers and they'll sit in the office and they'll get the delegates around them and they'll be like, yeah, our employees aren't very happy and they don't seem to want to work very hard. What do you think it is? Maybe we should extend their tea break by 10 minutes. Guy pipes up and says, you ever thought about giving them a pay rise? No. Maybe we should let them go home 10 minutes earlier every day. And they just go through every fucking thing that's not going to solve everything and completely ignore the actual thing.
The
that
elephant
fix
in the room.
things.
Yeah.
Oh, God.
It's like
And
you see these
which-
you see these big businesses, don't you? Like multi-billion-pound corporations, and you get these people who like sweat. They sweat and they get their blood, sweat, and tears. They put it into their work, and they secure like £6 million worth of contract for this company. And the boss is like, "Thank you so much. Like, we're gonna have a pizza night." Like, you know what I mean? Like a pizza day. And people are like, what is going on here? It's literally that.
Yeah.
It's that, but on a mass scale. Julie Pratt says they want to know, Rich, you literally just read it. I don't know why. They want, why is it doing that? They want to know about our personal financial stuff, as in digital ID. So as they work for us, we should see what they spend on.
Well, this is the thing, right? This is the misconception, yeah? Everything a politician does is published. Everything. You can go right now and look at exactly who Nigel Farage has shareholdings with. You can look at what his expenses. I can tell you exactly what his expenses were for 2025, 26.
Fucking
on
buying
his
Bruce
office,
dinner.
$5,500 he spent on office stuff. Some people spent 13, 14, 15. Everything is there. Do you know what the problem is? People don't look for it. It's
Yeah.
there. And
You
unless
can go on
someone
the-
like me does a video, which let's say my video hits 50,000 people, we can assume that 10% of those actually watch the whole video. So that's 5,000 people. So I could let 5,000 people know about 2 parliamentary MPs' expenses, and that will just go nowhere. And this happens regularly. regularly. Loads of people putting loads of information out there, and people don't take. And this is no thing against you guys in the comments. A lot of people, this is it's doing us out of it. No, but it's doing us out of a job. But I think a lot of people wait for us to give them information. And where do you think we're getting that information from? It's there. People need. I don't know
about you, but I get people saying, "Oh, I don't bother watching the news now. You're my go-to source of news." And I think
you're swapping one for another. Yeah.
Really? But even with the best will in the world, no matter how hard I work, I only cover a few topics. I'm not the news. Yeah. It's ridiculous. No. So what are people doing? I don't want to be their go-to source of news. I want to educate them on a few things. But what are people doing?
Mine's always been, John, to educate.
Is their head buried?
Yeah. Mine has always been to open people's eyes to where they can get this info from. People in my family had never even looked at the parliamentary bills page. I'm like, that is literally where they make the fucking laws that they're imposing on you. They write it out in black and white. And with modern technology, you can take that PDF, run it into ChatGPT and just say, can you summarize this for me and make it make sense? And it will do it for
Bruce, just to push back on that slightly, mate, we do this now as like, imagine getting in from your 9 to 5 and thinking, I know what I'm going to do. Shall I pop a beer, turn the telly on and watch the Boroughs? Or
do you know what I did for 2 years, Rich? What you were about to say? I did go to work. I did work on a building site. I did come home and I did go on the Parliamentary Bills website and look for this shit.
You are so much better than everyone else, Bruce.
No, I'm not better than everyone else. It's because you've got it's not. And I was probably in a position as well where I didn't have my child at the time, so I didn't have that responsibility. So I had a very different life, and I appreciate that. And I've probably got a very different life to what other people have as well. So I don't ever want to say if everyone in a week can dedicate 10 minutes to going for a walk, 10 minutes to watching your favorite, or an hour to watching your favorite show, or 2 hours to watch the sport on the weekend, or just 15 minutes. For 15 minutes on Wednesday night, I'm just going to go and research something. Bruce was talking about this the other day. I'm going to go and actually find out if if what he was saying was true about inheritance tax. And just
do you know what you can do, people, if you're watching? And it's so simple, it's so easy. I do this all the time now. AI is made out to be like the enemy. It's not. You can work with it. AI is just a very, very good search engine. It's just Google on steroids, right? That's all AI is. It's not going to take over the world anytime soon. I don't believe so anyway. You can go onto the Parliamentary Bills website, literally copy and paste it into AI and say, look, just give me the breakdown of this in layman's terms. Give me the points. What are the red flags? And it will just do it. And then you don't have to go through all because they purposefully use big words, long sentences, huge paragraphs so that you don't read it.
Make it boring.
Frankly. Yeah, they make it boring until Bruce gets on his camera and starts screaming and shouting about it. And it is boring. It is, but it's stuff that we need to look into. Guys, we're an hour and a half in. Do we wrap this up?
I think so.
Yeah.
A couple more.
We're just going to bore people to death.
Yeah.
We're just going to go on and on, especially with Bruce, with the way he is.
Go on all fucking night, mate.
Victoria said, how do you copy and paste?
We haven't touched Net Zero yet.
Victoria Cooper said, how do you copy and paste? We go on Google. The next one's going to be, how do you Google? That's not that. Yeah, I know she's put haha. It's all right. I didn't see it properly until I put it up.
But I think to sign off, because that's a very good thing, and this isn't us being condescending to people. None of us do what we do and learned what we learned through someone else telling us. Rich I did help Rich, so that's why he looks very much exactly like me now.
I mean, I'm not grey for a start. I don't look like
I've... You two have got very funky backdrops. Mine's a shit flag.
but the reality is like John said, if Rich is doing a story in a day, if I'm doing 5 stories in a day, if John's doing 5 stories in a day, the Daily Mail alone, across entertainment, sports, politics, publishes 3,000 stories globally a day.
Yeah.
Wow.
3,000. That's just the Daily Mail with their world news, and we're talking so politically, probably about 500-600 stories a day. That can be anything from something like a little bit of corruption in a council to someone fucking didn't put their bins away properly to massive political headline scandals. So you think about, sorry, that might be a week. Let me just correction. That might be per week. I think I might have got that wrong as that per week. But if every single news out, they're the biggest. They are by far the biggest. Sky then come in second. Then you've got the Telegraph. That all these newspapers, largely 50% of what they're doing will be the same. It'll be the same stuff, but from a different angle. But that's the thing is, I would learn to start comparing headlines. Don't be adverse to going to read The Guardian and The Telegraph's viewpoint on two similar things. One will be saying Keir Starmer's a twat, and the other will be saying Keir Starmer's a legend. And it's learning how the mainstream media spin things. Once you learn that, then you start to see and look into what's really not being told to you. And you have to go down your own little avenue, I think. I've done this for a long time and do multiple things. But you have, like, John, would you say you're probably more immigration, or probably Rich as well? You're probably more immigration activists.
Yeah, immigration / politics / the Labour Party / the government, I suppose, are the key topics. I'd love to diversify. I'd like to do some more positive stuff, to be honest. But you can only get in so much in a day. I'm trying to do other things, and I don't think people realise sometimes the amount of work it takes. You make one video to then edit that slightly differently and post it across. I'm on now 5 different platforms. I mean, I'm probably putting in close to 10 hours a day doing this now. And I've also got 2 other businesses that I try and run as well. It's my wife wants to divorce me because I spend literally from 8 o'clock at night until 1 o'clock in the morning, sitting on the sofa, doing stuff on social media, doing stuff on my phone. And it's all consuming.
People probably think we're all going to get off of this and just go and sit and watch the footy. That's not going to happen, is it? I'll probably go and make a cup of tea, be back here. 9 times out of 10 after a live, me and Rich will sit chatting for an hour.
I'm not doing that. I'm just telling you, I've got things to do.
No, but it is. You raise a valid point. This is a constant thing, and it's. I think I understand why so many people can't be online looking into this all the time. I literally. So this is this morning, for example. I got up at 4:30, straight on the news. Then I start planning what videos am I going to do today. I'm just going to give you my life story now. Fuck it, we're here, but let's do it. Then after I've like gone through the news and found what I want to speak about, it's like, right now I need to get my son off to nursery, drop him off at nursery. Then you've got to go and do like your daily chores, you know what I mean? Get your shopping in and stuff like that. Come home. Right, okay, now I need to record my videos. Right, oh, fuck. Right, the stories I was going to do this morning, they've now developed massively. Yeah. So now I've got to do something else and change it all and change. And you do put like a loose script together, or sometimes I'll have a little auto cue in front of me and I do read the bullet points and etc. So I have to plan all that in. And then it's like, right, we're doing a live stream tonight. Right, you don't just press play. Like, you've got to make sure the logo's in the right place. You've got to make sure the media's prepared that people have just seen. You've got to make sure that when we put the promo out, there's like John's face next to your face and my face, and then you put it out, and then you got to create the post and promote it, and then you got to sit down, you know, and you go into like, what time are we on now? Like 9 o'clock at night. Now you've got to get straight back off this. Me, Bruce, and I know John will do the same. Straight back onto social media. What's been happening? What have I missed in the past hour and a half? Because there will be something, and you have to be on it constantly. I'm going grey. I've started going grey since last year. Like, I can fully sympathise, gentlemen.
Mine's just through the fact that I'm nearly 50. You've got no excuses, Rich.
I'm 57. I'm past it.
Yeah, John. We've got way more excuses. You ain't, Rich. You got no excuse.
No, I haven't.
But it is stressful, and we've had this conversation before. But yeah,
but we do it for a reason. It is stressful.
We do
it for a reason, and
we do it for a reason,
and hopefully a reason that will be successful at some point.
That we actually start to see a change. Yeah.
Well, with that, I'm going to say thank you so much for coming on, John. You've been amazing.
No problem,
much better
guys,
than Swano.
Absolutely loved it. If you're ever short again, then give me a shout.
You'll be on next week, mate. We haven't got Swano for about 4 weeks.
Oh, really?
I was going to say we've not even
you might be our new
Swano.
regular, mate.
Swano's so Swano and his missus were having. He won't mind me saying they were going for a bit of a rough patch, and essentially they had to come to an agreement where Swano had to get enlargement surgery. So that's what he's done. It's gone wrong, so he's having to take a bit of time out. So that's for anyone watching. That's where
you two are weirdly fixated on knob size.
You should see the shit he sends me. Honestly,
I don't want to be in that WhatsApp group, guys.
I don't think you need to be in a WhatsApp group. Johnny just sends you it.
Oh, okay.
Oh yeah, John, you're getting it. Yeah, no, absolutely. I think we're there now, John. I think we're there, guys. Everyone, John, thank you so much for tuning in. If anyone anyone doesn't know who John is, ordinary guy, rant on X, Facebook, TikTok. You're on everything, aren't you? YouTube.
Yeah, pretty much. Yeah, I'm everywhere.
Brilliant. We've got Bruce Unfiltered here.
I'm everywhere.
Yeah, you're like herpes. Like you're not there till you are. We've got Bruce here. Obviously, everyone knows Bruce Unfiltered, and then I'm Richard Donaldson. This has been Outcast Media Network. I hate saying goodbye. It's always awkward. So I'm just going to say to everyone, thank you so much for tuning in, and we'll see you next time. Thank you.
Cheers, guys.